The protagonist as a new recruit in Captain Willie's ship meets the captain who instructs him to start with washing the deck as the first task of the day. As the new crew member starts washing dirty shoe prints on the deck, he notices how there aren't any other crew members apart from him, despite the ship having enough capacity for several people, especially as they will be on the way for a while, hence needing more people to run certain errands, such as maintaining the ship, cooking, extra manpower, and more. Not thinking much of this, as soon as he manages to wash the deck and get rid of the shoe prints, the captain commends him for doing a good job and instructs him to chop some potatoes so they have something to eat for later. After doing so, the captain gives the new crew member a final task to complete to feed the fire with some more coal as the source of fuel to keep the ship running. Therefore, it is clear the time period the story is taking place is in early 1900s, corresponding to when early Mickey Mouse was first broadcasted. After feeding the furnace with some coal, Captain Willie informs the protagonist that his duties for today are all done and there's nothing else expected of him. That's when he goes to rest, waking up the next day to being the second day, with the captain telling him to do the same things as before. After finally feeding the furnace, the protagonist goes back to bed to get ready for another day. Third day begins being 30th of April 1929 with the same tasks expected of the protagonist. This time, however, the captain orders him to fetch some potatoes from under the deck as they are running low on the stock, with the hatch door at the front deck leading straight into the dark storage. Managing to get a candle and barely lighting his path in the dark storage, the protagonist comes across several strange barrels and sacks, but he dismisses them as soon as he finds the potato sack. As he collects them and reports back to Willie, he explains that he should never go down there again, at least without any prior permission, clearly hiding something that he does not want to disclose. Regardless, the protagonist goes to chop some more potatoes to get them ready for later's feast. Getting himself busy chopping them up into pieces, as time passes, the protagonist gets a strange feeling as if someone is watching him. Turning around to see Willie staring at him menacingly, but he soon shuts the door, with the protagonist opening the door seeing Willie back on the deck holding the wheel, all happening within seconds, being very surreal and supernatural. Unsure to what he just witnessed, he goes to report to him, who instructs him to put some more coal into the furnace. After doing so, he goes back to bed, falling deep into sleep after a long day. While sleeping, he hears a loud bang, which gets him jump off bed, going to investigate the source of the sound. As he goes to the front deck, he sees the storage hatch door left open, a place Willie strictly forbid the protagonist from entering without any prior permission, being an off-limit place. Regardless, the protagonist goes down, finding Willie standing still in a corner as if doing something very strange. As soon as Willie notices the crew member, in a panic he tells him to go back to bed, not explaining what he's doing. So it seems as if Willie has some ulterior motives, having some hidden secrets that he doesn't want to be disclosed. As the fourth day begins visiting Willie, he breaks the news to him that they are lost in the sea, but reassures him that he shouldn't worry as he will put them back on course. Doing the tasks again and heading to bed, a few more days pass on like this, getting to day 9th in the sea, being 5th of May 1929. That's when the captain confesses that they are completely lost, having no clue to where they are, being stranded in the sea with no hope. Despite the dire situation they are in right now, Willie instructs the protagonist to continue with his tasks and to ensure the potatoes are chopped. That's when the biggest problem arises, with the protagonist noticing that they are out of food even in the storage, as they originally planned to only be on the sea for less than 9 days, having nothing left to eat in order to survive. This raises a question if actually Willie was the one who sabotaged the storage of the potatoes, or if they actually ran out of them. Days pass on, with 18 days having passed now. Willie is showing signs of malnourishment, giving the wheel to the protagonist as he feels exhausted. On the 19th day, Willie struggles to think straight and function, but regardless, he instructs the protagonist to carry on with his usual tasks. On the 20th day, after 11 days of lacking any sort of food, the protagonist hears loud sounds coming from the storage. Struggling to stand up, he pushes through exhaustion and lethargy in order to investigate the strange sounds. As he goes deep into the dark storage, he finds Willie acting really strange in an unenthusiastic manner, informing the protagonist that he found a solution to their problem of lacking any food. As the protagonist goes forward excitedly, he notices Willie transformed into a monstrous being, chasing after him in order to eat the crew member, having lost his sanity. The protagonist, however, manages to find the key to the lifeboat and outrun Willie, rushing to safety. This leaves Willie all alone on the boat with the protagonist on the lifeboat into the deep, dark sea. The safety, though, is a small lifeboat stranded in the middle of the sea, completely lost, not knowing where to go. Unless the protagonist is extremely lucky, most likely he will starve to death before hitting any major waves or storm in the sea. Keep in mind that he has not eaten for more than 11 days, and now he used excessive amount of energy running with all of his might from a monstrous Willie. Now, with no clue of where he could be, with barely any experience in navigating in the sea, his chances of survival are very slim. He managed to survive being eaten alive, which is a horrific way to die, just to die in a small boat in absolute darkness of the sea. It's not very clear how Willie transformed into a monster. Maybe he didn't transform into a monster and he had sharp teeth to begin with, just losing his sanity and hope, giving into his hunger and instinct to just eat what he can. But symbolically, we can conclude that he did transform into a monster, losing himself, wanting to eat a crew member who was his mate for the past 20 days, someone he relied on and someone who relied on him for survival. And if anything, Willie is the one responsible for getting them lost in the sea and essentially killing the crew member who had the unfortunate fate of signing up to be a crew member with Willie, who happens to be terrible at navigating. It's a possibility Captain Willie has done this many times before actually though. It's quite odd that the protagonist was the only crew member on board on a relatively large ship with big capacity. The protagonist also didn't have many duties, with the captain watching his every move, as if waiting for the right moment to strike. Waiting until the protagonist is weak and exhausted enough, not having eaten for a while so he can be an easy prey. That explains why he supposedly accidentally got lost in the middle of the sea so he can get somewhere completely isolated where he can finish off the protagonist uninterruptedly. Also, he told the protagonist to never go to the storage without permission, which could in a way suggest he might be storing human corpses, being his previous victims. Therefore, Willie could potentially be a monster who lures people as new recruits to eat them. Even if they manage to run away from him, being stranded in the middle of the sea, they have a very slim chance of surviving to tell the story about Willie. Anyways folks, this brings us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to stay tuned for more by hitting on the subscribe button and the notification bell. As always, it's been your host Star, and I will see you on the next video. Have a fantastic day.